Good
Steve, how
afternoon.
you doing tonight?
Fine, thank you. Nice, cool Arizona.
I bet. Is it down to what, 105 these days?
No, it's about 88 today. It's not bad. It wasn't bad.
Very good, very good. Well, see, it was 82 here in Ohio today, and it was beautiful, but it's heading south far more than I would like it to very soon. Again, we appreciate you stopping by, Steve. We want to talk some Arizona football, of course, with the matchup coming up against USC. This Arizona team, quite different than the one that took USC to maybe a stiffer test than many had predicted last season. Uh, I believe the final was 45-37. Dorian Singer was, of course, on that Arizona team. Just your initial thoughts about 5 weeks into the season, how the Wildcats have progressed compared to what you had expected.
Yeah, well, they're much better than they were last year and the previous years. I said today in a column, or yesterday in a column, it's probably the best team in the last 5, 6, maybe 7 years. Playing very well comparatively to what they were, right? Much better, still not at the elite level. In fact, I said they played Washington well enough, but they're still realistically probably the 8th or ninth best team in the league, given the circumstances of the league. We all know that it's tough. It's tough at the top, and top is pretty top heavy. So they're good, they're better, but what does that mean?
Steve, thanks for joining us. My main question is, Jaden DeLora, it's feast or famine. You get such high upside when he's great, but it's an absolute train wreck when he's bad. And he's hurt. Has the U of A actually found a better, more consistent, steady formula with DeLora out and Fafita in? Is this a better way for the team to play with the quarterback situation being different?
Yeah, it has no choice, right? Because he is the backup. And I think Fafita is exactly what you described. A safer, calmer, more stable type of quarterback. And I say that because they'll probably give him doses of not crazy plays to run, because he just started his first game in college, right, last week. So now this will be number 2 if he does start, and DeLora is not clear to go. So I think they're going to give him the basic stuff. He did the basic stuff last weekend and fared fairly well. Nothing real complicated. He had a bad interception because he tried to do too much. But you're exactly right on DeLora. You have him pegged in terms of description. He's a more exciting quarterback. But right now they don't need exciting. They need consistent and winning. So Fafita brings them that.
Now let's talk about the tactics for Jedd Fisch going up against this Alex Grinch USC defense. Now, you know as well as I do that Colorado doesn't try to run the ball. But Arizona's, I would think, is going to make an effort to run the ball, keep Caleb Williams a spectator on the sidelines. How would you assess Arizona's chances of being able to mix the run with the short pass and produce 7-8 minute drives to keep Caleb Williams on the sideline?
Yeah, that's what they're exactly going to try to do. And Arizona's running game is much better than what it's been. We're not sure on the status of Michael Wiley. He is their guy, but he got hurt last weekend. But they have a group of guys that can come in and do very well. Jonah Coleman and the crew have done very well to this point in substituting for him. In fact, the Washington coach said he was very impressed with Arizona's running game because it's much improved from previous years. But you're right. They're going to have to kind of slow the game down a little, play ball control. Whether they can do that or not, it's going to probably be the dink and dunks by Fafita, and the hopefully from their end, a sustained drive or 2 or 3 or 10, right? Because they don't want USC to have the ball.
This was the team that was obviously greatly improved throughout last season. Jedd Fisch took over a program that was in shambles after Rich Rod's final portion of his tenure leading into Kevin Sumlin. Then they got that breakthrough victory at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. This was a better than expected effort by many nationally that looked across and saw 31-24, looked at the numbers, looked at the outcome in regards to staying close within a score, 2 scores of Washington. Jedd Fisch isn't into moral victories. He made a couple comments after the game, basically, citing the team's improvement on one hand, but then also that they're excited, but at the same time saying, hey, we're not getting it done. We want to get it done. But this has to be just a tremendous boost in regards to showing that, a breakthrough may be coming.
Well, you're exactly right. In my column yesterday after the game, I wrote that, how do you look at this game? Because the week before, they struggled against the Stanford team that we think that's probably near the bottom of the league, right? They barely survived that. Fafita came in at the end and drove them to get that win. So you're thinking, how good is this team? They really didn't show much. A week later, they played really well against Washington. But realistically, let's remember something. They could have been blown out easily, too, because they were down 14. Washington was on the 5, and they fumbled the ball. So they could have been down 21 and had Arizona in a position where it would have been dire straits. But they came back. They made it close. So that gave them hope, right? So here we are. 1 week, not so good. Another week, pretty good. USC coming up. We all know about USC. The one thing that you haven't talked about, and I haven't talked about, is that Arizona, for whatever reason, plays USC tough, no matter how good USC is, which is a very bizarre thing to me.
Yeah, so I was noticing you were able to keep Penix and the high-powered passing offense out of the end zone. That was one thing just kind of with stat watching. But also you were able to bottle up the receivers. They have a trio of receivers up there. What are you guys doing on defense? Like we know we've borrowed Christian Roland Wallace from you guys. What do you guys do on the back end that might give that is leading to your success, but also that might pose problems for Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams in the game?
That's funny. I think the Arizona coaches won't use the word borrowed. Are they going to get him back? Him and Singer, right? Two very good players, obviously. Well, they played not the home run ball. They were not going to give Penix the home run ball, so they played him close and gave him kind of the shorter passes. But you're only going to beat them deep. I don't know if that's the case this weekend. They're going to have to play out of their minds against the. I think that USC is the best team in the league. I've said this since the beginning. You have to knock off the champs to be the champs. Washington was very good. Oregon's very good. But USC has still got what it has. What are they going to do? They have to stop. They have to stop the quarterback. Obviously, Arizona will be tested. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a different approach this week than it was to last week, where they didn't want the home run ball to beat them.
Steve, I only have one other question, and then I'll turn it over to Matt and Tim if they have anything left. We appreciate you stopping by. And again, you can catch Steve Rivera, Fox Sports Radio, 1450 in Tucson, Arizona. From more a big picture standpoint, of course, the non-conference game of note was the trip to Starkville, returning the trip against Mississippi State, taking in an SEC atmosphere, cowbells, the whole deal, and taking that to the brink. It was a furious finish. Unfortunately, Jaden DeLora makes that last gasp dive to try to get a first down. And I hate when games are decided by measurements, especially fourth down and overtime. That's about as tough as it gets. But still, I've got a pretty good recollection nationally of non-conference games. And for Arizona to go to SEC country for a non-conference game, does that give us an idea where this program was to go in regards to a scheduling strategy out of conference?
Yeah, I think so. They played very well in that game specifically, outside of the first quarter where they had a ton of interceptions, and DeLora was exactly what the previous gentleman said. He's kind of crazy with the ball, fast and loose. But they played well. I think so that they're going to play some tough schedules. You got to figure out how good you're going to be. But now that the conference is going to be disbanded, right? What's going to happen with the future in the Big 12 and all that? I think Arizona finds a better footing in the Big 12 compared to the Pac-12 because there's no USC, there's no Washington, there's no Oregon, and at times no UCLA. So they might be better off in the Big 12. So we'll see in the future. This week, 22 points, a lot of points, and Arizona covers, right? They've covered every game this year. We'll see what happens.
Tim, Matt, anything?
I would just also ask, and this is not a USC question, but it's an interesting question. You did mention the Big 12. How important is it to beat Colorado and be competitive with Deion Sanders in recruiting as you head into the Big 12? Like, how much are people in Tucson talking about that specific game later this season?
No, they haven't talked about it at all, but that's a good point. And let me say where it's a good point. Arizona's 3-2. They need to get to 6 wins. Everybody had them at 6, 7. and the crazy people had them at 8. I had them at 5 or 6. They're at 3 right now. They need that Colorado game to get them to 6 if they can beat UCLA and Arizona State to add those other 2 to make it 3. Very crucial game in Colorado. Before the season started, didn't we all think that was a possible win for a lot of teams? Now that's not the case because you don't know what Colorado's going to be, especially at home. And Arizona still kind of have to prove itself to be among the better 6-win teams. It hasn't done that yet.
And there's really one more quick. I know I need in a rush, but one more quick question on the general health of the Wildcats. You said there are some injuries. Just do you see what are the most impactful injuries beyond the obvious ones?
Yeah, no, I think well, the obvious one is Jaden, so we don't know about him, but he's Fish said that if he's ready to go, he will play. Wiley, we're not sure. They have some other ones. Paluda is kind of hurt on the front line. He's been hurt a lot lately. He started off the season hurt. A very key guy up front. Arizona needs him for this game. So big injuries like that to key guys, maybe 3 or 4. Will it impact them at quarterback? Possibly. But if you get the stable quarterback, you would rather have that guy. And they have the running backs to kind of fill in. So they're injuries, but not to the extent of, oh my God, they're not going to win it. And right now, when you're 22-point dogs, you think, oh my God, are you going to win it?
Steve Rivera, Fox Sports Radio, 1450 in Tucson, Arizona. Steve, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate your time.
You all guys, thanks for the invite.
Thanks, Steve.